welcome to today's webinar. We are very, very excited for a great session today. The title of this webinar is How AI Copilots Make Recruiting Personal Again. So we're going to dive in to Findem. I'm very, very excited about Findem. When I did the first demo, I immediately thought that this is probably one of the best recruiting tools I've ever seen. I know I'm supposed to be unbiased, but I am a little biased. I'm sorry to say it. So really, really excited to be here with Karen and Matt today. So this webinar is co-hosted by Talent Collective and Findem. And we're going to go over a few different things today. So one, what is an AI Copilot and how it works to help recruiters in their workflow? And 5 myths about recruiting copilots, and we'll learn a little bit more about what they are. And then we're going to see a live demo. So that'll be the fun and really interactive part. We're going to go through an actual real role and work through all the functionality, which will be really, really fun. So as you are getting settled, would love for all of our attendees to feel free to throw your name, your LinkedIn profile, where you're calling from in the chat. And also any questions that you have throughout the webinar, please throw those in as well. We'll keep an eye and hopefully be able to answer any questions. And really quickly before we dive in case you aren't familiar with Talent Collective, this is actually our old logo, but had to throw it on there. We are a community for women in the talent acquisition space. So if you're a woman or identify as one and are interested in more community and events and mentorship, please feel free to reach out to me afterwards. I'd love to chat with you more. So thank you again to Findem for hosting today's webinar. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Karen and Matt now. And we'd love to hear a little bit more from you about copilots and how they can help recruiters.
Fantastic. Just gonna share my screen here. But thank you, Krista. I'm super excited to be here. I'm such a fan of Talent Collective. I think I came to a meeting, I don't know, almost a year ago, maybe when you were just starting out in San Francisco, and met so many great people and just said to the team at Findem, we have to get connected with this group and support them because they're doing really great things. So thank you, Krista. Thanks for bringing us here today. And with me is, I'm head of strategic content at Findem. So I do a lot of the storytelling and kind of blogs and things like that. So always looking to talk to leaders in the space about what they're up to and featuring them in the work that we do. And with me today is Matt Kuala. So Matt, would you like to say hello?
I would. Thanks, Karen. Krista, thanks for having us. My name is Matt Cavala. I'm Director of Sales Engineering and Enablement here at Findem. And we've been building Findem as a company now for a better part of half a decade. Can't believe it. So thank you so much for taking the time to learn about what we've been doing and how we can have AI copilots allow for TA and recruiting to be personal.
Fantastic. Yeah, and just a little bit about what we'll do today. And thank you to everyone who's taken the time out to join us today. We really appreciate your participation. We'll do a little bit of myth busting. We will do a little bit of storytelling with some stats from an actual customer. And then we plan to put Krista in the hotspot for our demo today. So this should be a lot of fun. So for those of you who this is your first time learning about Findem, we are a talent acquisition platform powered by 3D data and AI. We're here to help you automate the tasks that slow you down so you can focus on the ones that fire you up. And why do we do that? Well, our mission is really to help talent teams make better decisions about people. And everything we do is around that goal and that mission. So before we get started, I'd love to get a feel from the audience of where you are in your knowledge around copilots. What does this mean to you? So we've put together a little poll that will pop up here. I'd love to have you answer that and give us a sense of where you are in your learning on this AI journey. Great. I love these polls. And also please be sure, it's always fun to have an active chat. So feel free to put things in the chat for us to take a look at as well. Right, Austin, do we have results? Ooh, all right. A qualified pilot. Well, there are two right answers, right? A qualified pilot who assists or relieves the pilot, but is not in command, which I think is a really key point about co-pilots. They are not the decision makers. You are the decision maker. And then, of course, a great way to get the task started and generate results. Of course, we are seeing, I think with ChatGPT, some people are like, please make the decisions for me. And we don't want to be using copilots for that. And then also we had, an AI companion that will keep you company as you disqualify the volume of inbound applications coming in, because we all know you need some company for that task. So let's get started. Next, I'd just like to share some definitions with you, just kind of so we're all on the same page. I know all this AI stuff has come out really quickly. And taken the industry by storm. But really, what is artificial intelligence? I mean, true artificial intelligence is the idea, the theory that a machine can solve problems the way that a brain does. And to be honest, we're really not there yet. And, I don't know, some people think that it's a few years out, but other people feel like there are a lot of constraints that we need to put on that AI before it becomes part of our lives. So there's a lot of debate around this. So what do people really mean? Until a year ago, what they were talking about usually with AI is machine learning. And these are algorithms that are just trained to make those classifications and find information out about the data. But it's really kind of using models and systems that we put in place. And then deep learning took that a step further, kind of being able to classify and quantify really big data sets that didn't have details like this is a title, this is a skill, this is a college. You could just have all that data in one place and use deep learning to find that information out and categorize it. Well, last year, of course, we all know that generative AI came out, and these are transformers that are using deep learning and these other elements of AI, and they're creating new content. That's the generative part that is statistically probable. So this is not factual information, the results of Gen AI, but it's pretty good. Like it's probably what, a lot of people generate information, right? Based on what they know to be true or think to be true. So that's kind of how Gen AI is working. And then, but it can, make mistakes. And so we have to be kind of careful about how we use it and where we use it. And then Copilot is really kind of taking this a step further and putting that Gen AI into your workflow or into the software that you use. So I know, for example, I use Notion for a lot of project management, and it'll pop up a question for me sometimes and say, hey, would you like to write this type of content? And I'm like, sure. Can you do that outline for me? Help me out. So that's where we are today and what copilots are intended to do. Any questions or comments that folks have? Awesome. Okay, so why do we think this is so important in the HR and TA space? Well, first of all, there's a lot changing, in our space today. And I think we all feel the effects of this and are thinking about it. And the first area is around market conditions. There's been a ton of volatility. This is just showing kind of the stock market over the last, I guess I have almost 5 years, 4.5 years there. And it's kind of a crazy time that we've seen. And we all have experienced, I think, the growth and then the contraction, and now maybe things are growing again. So there's a lot of volatility in the market conditions. And then the other condition we want to see here is that really AI arrived, like we talked about with ChatGPT, and HR people were some of the first ones to jump in and start using it. So we've all kind of played around with this and used it in ways individually to make things better. But now the next step is, how do we make this more of a collective enterprise across our organization? And that's when you're going to really start getting the productivity improvements. And then that kind of has to do with this automation piece. So it's one thing to be able to sort of generate that content, but it's another thing to be able to automate some processes, some things that take you a lot of time, all those pieces that you do the same way every time, but you have to do them each time. Hey, let's automate that. And that's where I think we're starting to see some really great tools showing up in the marketplace. All right. So what might be holding talent teams back? Well, first of all, with AI is only as good as the data that goes into it. And so what we are seeing, and I just ask folks, how many of you have too many inbound applications to review? That is a huge problem that we're hearing from so many people. And what we see is that with AI now being used by everybody, like, you can just say, tailor my resume to this job when you see that job pop up in LinkedIn today. What you're ending up with is a lot of resumes that aren't really a true reflection of a person's skills. We're seeing jobs that may not seem like what they seem. We hear that from applicants as well. And what this is all ending up doing is creating a lot of missed opportunity and missed talent, because you're not able to see the people who really are qualified and spend time with those folks. And this is all getting scaled up with AI. And the result is really kind of broken trust in the talent acquisition process. And then also real erosion of brands and candidate experience. So, we want to think about, and this kind of comes back to that title of can AI make talent acquisition personal again? And that's where, with the right automations, with the right AI, would it be possible to get some of that trust back by creating more personal connections? And Krista, when we were going over the slides before, talked about, the ATS and how it's just, we lose talent there, right? Like, you've talked to this person and you actually have to go back to LinkedIn to find them, because you just can't even track down and find them again in your ATS. And so I think that's a real problem that we're hearing back from companies, is that, like, you've done all this effort to find this great talent and nurture them, but you can't seem to tap into it again when that job opens up. So let's solve that problem. And then finally, the piece I think that's also we all want to keep in mind is that this sort of scaling up with people had really, heartbreaking effects in the last couple of years, right? Because we saw a lot of people really grow and build great talent teams and then lose great people. And so we want to grow to a more steady state where people are really able to excel and be their best at work and not have to worry about this growing up and down and instability. So that's what we all kind of want to get to, I think. All right, so how is Findem helping with this? So we use something called 3D data, and this is at the basis of our platform, and it provides a more holistic view of talent. So what you see on the left is what you get with a resume or a profile. It's really 1D data, it's self-reported, it's really limited. And as we know now, it's also being tailored in ways that don't really tell you, who a person is or what they've done. Where with Findem, we're taking company data and person data, and we're applying time to that. So we can not only see that someone is a software engineer at Google or has that experience, we can see that they were a software engineer at Google when it was a 500-person company. So it's a really radically different piece of information. We can see that someone was at, a CMO was at a company during a period of rapid growth and through an IPO versus, they've been a CMO at a company. So that's a really different approach to the information, and we make it searchable, and then we automate that. So back to those challenges that we had before, we don't have the information. Now we've got the information. We can't find those people in our channels. We've made it really searchable and easy to find across those channels. And then finally, we're able to automate so much of that process that then the talent folks can really focus on that human experience and talking to folks, which is what they want to do, right? All right. Oh, we're into our myths. Wait, I think we were going to have to speed through these a little bit, but everybody good? Matt, are you ready for the myth busting here?
I think we're ready for the myths, Karen.
All right.
We got 5 myths. There's also a wonderful blog that we have about these 5 myths. And we've sourced through multiple individuals, multiple organizations to talk through these 5 myths. So let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So myth
Okay.
number 1, Karen. This is an interesting one that I kind of want your take on a little bit, right? I mean, every time we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, always comes up of Copilot's just here to take my job. Is that true or not true? Just tell us what as you see fit.
Yeah, I mean, this is a scary one, right? I'm a writer. So you can imagine, like, when I started to see ChatGPT, I thought, wait a minute, is this going to take my job? But the truth is that copilots are AI assistants, like we talked about. They're not flying the plane. They need human oversight. So I think recruiters really won't be replaced by AI, but they might be replaced by people who learn how to use it really effectively and do their job better. So it's something that, they're not going to be decision makers. And, ultimately humans hire humans, but probably to be a recruiter in the future, you are going to have to understand how to use AI to make you more productive.
Mhm.
All right. So myth number 2. Let's see. So on this one, co-pilots are for newbies. So when we launched Findham's Copilot, I'd be curious, Matt, you were looking at a lot of the data. Who found it useful? Was it just people without much experience?
This was a funny one. Honestly, didn't see this one coming. Quite a bit users over here at Findem when we first rolled out, like Karen was saying, our own Copilot. Genuinely confused here that some of the feedback was that, well, copilots are just for new people. It helps new employees, new people to HR, new people to TA, maybe new people to recruiting or sourcing, help up level to the point of more like the veteran status, which is not why we initially rolled out Copilot. What we actually found is that the early adopters of Copilot were the people that had the experience because they also knew all the pains, all the tasks that could be all those mundane tasks that could be automated in areas where they were like, I could be much more efficient here. So when we actually looked at the data of the companies and users on a persona basis that were adopting Copilot and AI first, it was flipped from this myth. So it was actually some of those veterans trying to jumpstart their work, learning from best practices and getting better. Conversely, then all those new people that were coming onto the team were also being able to elevate, which we'll talk through some data later. So very surprised to see this myth on here. All right. Were we too surprised to see this one though? Trust the co-pilot. I feel like between take my job and should I trust it are like the two conversations that always pop up.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we've all heard about this hallucination problem. And just for those of you who haven't, again, the generative AI is creating information. So it might sort of get started down the wrong path, and then it keeps creating. So you really do have to make sure you're using the right data and the right guardrails so that to eliminate that hallucination problem. And so co-pilots can really help you focus on the understanding of intent. So at Findem, where we use AI and Gen AI, is really an understanding what you're looking for, because you can always modify that. Like you'll know, oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted something else. So you can refine and tell the Gen AI, like, hey, that wasn't the path I wanted you to go down. So we don't use it to make assumptions about people's experience. We create factual data about people's experience. So the 3D data that we talked about before is factual data. So we know that, Krista was one of the founders of Talent Collective. And so we know she's a founder, right? We didn't make up that she's a founder. We know that because of the time, the title, and pulling all those pieces of data together. Ultimately, with copilots and AI in general, you do need enough information to be able to trust it and trust your gut when you think that something might be amiss.
Yeah, and Karen, before we go on to myth 4, maybe I think anecdotally, I've never spoken to more legal teams in the last 6 to 8 months over trusting the Copilot, which is fair, very due diligence. A lot of individuals that are either adapting or implementing some type of AI solution, whether it be Copilot or some efficiency workflow or automation, tapping in legal now, very helpful. Regardless of find them, make sure doing our own due diligence, our own research, go to the company or the vendor's website. How do they use AI responsibly? Ask all these insightful questions. If anyone would like to follow up with Karen and I on like some of the most common questions that we get when people are evaluating solutions, more than happy to provide, but very, very important piece when it comes to the myth.
Absolutely. And on our website, we have a whole section of our website called Why Find Them, where we really tackle each of these topics around compliance, responsible use, even DEI and diversity data. So that's a really great place to check it out. And, every vendor you consider should have some content and information around these things, so you can trust them. Myth 4. This one is interesting. I mean, this is one I heard from Matt a lot, in terms of, you talk to a lot of TA leaders at companies, and they may have bought AI in the past, but and they're being directed now to start using AI. Like the leadership is like, hey, you should be more productive. Where's AI in your strategy? So how are you going to use it to increase efficiency and reduce costs? What have you been hearing here, Matt?
Yeah, this is probably one of the more myths that I'm fascinated about, because 2023, I'm sure a lot of the attendees here today have heard the phrase was the year of efficiency. So many companies and organizations were pushing to implement some degree of artificial intelligence. However, going back, I believe it was slide 4, Karen showed there were 6 different definitions, all under the umbrella of artificial intelligence. And moving forward, I think it's fair to say, hopefully no one holds me to it, that 98 to 99% of some tool will have a degree of AI in it. Seeing it more and more every day, where there's updates to even the tech stack that we use, where AI is being implemented. And it's not necessarily a matter of, did you implement AI, but did you implement the correct AI? Did the AI that you implement solve the business challenge that you had? And candidly, we did have some organizations that, purchased a Copilot, implemented AI in 2023, and they were like, oh my gosh, we're nowhere close as an organization to actually implement this. Like, we still got to overcome the trust. I got to overcome the workflows. I got to have actually baked out processes when it comes to Copilot, because sometimes then, if we do have some of those individuals that are like, well, I just don't fully trust the system yet, so I'm going to review all the matches that Copilot's sending me. Well, then we're just back to where we were doing before. So sometimes, even though you implement AI, it can lead to some inefficiencies down the road if we as a person, as a leadership team, and as an organization aren't quite ready for Copilot or AI. So it's always helpful to fully fluff out what it is that we're trying to solve for, what is the correct AI or process to get there, and then actually build out and implement through change management and adoption.
Yeah, this one is the, where the rubber hits the road, where it becomes more than just a single individual tool, but an organizational tool that really brings about that transformation.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention anything. Here we are. Our title slide of today was making recruiting personal. So how could we not discuss a myth about Copilots and AI making recruiting impersonal? So Karen, I know you're a content writer, you write a lot, you listen to a lot, you're attending a lot of webinars. What have you heard when it comes to Copilots and making things impersonal?
Yeah, it was so interesting. Last year, I was on the advisory board for Future of TA survey from HR.com. And I was so struck because they said, what's the primary concern about AI? And 53% of leaders said that it would make recruiting impersonal? And then the very next question was, what do you see as the top benefit of AI? And 56% said the top benefit was that it would make recruiting more personal. So there's overlap even between the people who said, and by the way, this was the number one concern and the number one benefit. So I think that's just really telling that these are real concerns and relevant concerns. Everyone should have this in mind and should, in your implementation, be thinking about where are we saving and creating efficiencies so we can make it more personal. So by making it more personal, we're not necessarily saying, you know, send Karen an email that says, hey, Karen, thanks for applying for this job. It's not just putting my first name in, but it's really this bigger automation and selection that we were talking about, where you're able to really focus in on the talent that is the best match for your company and the talent that has the highest intent. So if the Copilot can help you do that, then you're really focusing and able to provide more personalized information, more feedback. You have more time to do that with the people who are the best matches and the highest intent, the people that you're looking to talk to. And I think I must have done this last week when I was having trouble focusing. So I think we can all agree that focus is just in short supply these days with all of the things we have to do. And so having a Copilot or AI or some way of helping you really find the thing that you're looking for at the moment, I think we can all attest to the value in that. And then that gives you that just a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra information so you can provide a more personalized experience for folks. I see, and we talk about that with inbound management too, like the flood of inbound, like really being able to focus on the people who are the right talent. And then talent pool management in terms of that, being able to go back to that ATS, find those folks, nurture them in a meaningful way, find them again when their skills have advanced and you have new opportunities and now they fit those opportunities. We want to keep that data fresh and up to date and searchable. Great. All right. So here we are, we're to the storytelling. So we busted our myths and now we have a story to tell. So Matt, I'd love to have you share with us what happened with some real world, one of our customers and their experience with Copilot.
Yeah. First off, if there's 2 to 3 slides to take away from what Karen and I have been talking about for the last 28 minutes, the next 3 slides are definitely that. We're assuming that everyone on this call at this point is at least comfortable with the 5 myths that we walked through. We're going to show you some autonomized data that we have of our own customers that are using Copilot. So these numbers are, it's nuts, right? Like our product team was not even prepared for the types of numbers that were going to come in. So I believe, Karen, if we give the screen a click here, you'll see that before Copilot, right? So this is 6 months of data that we took from some of our clients, and we were finding that on average, it's roughly about 2 weeks, 13.5 days to first contact. So what we're talking about here is you're logging in, you got your job description, you got your qualifications, you're trying to look for people that are a qualified match, which is probably one of the largest pains in the market right now. Like, how do I find quality people, quality talent for this role? Taking about 14 days, right? 13.5. So even by the time you connected with the hiring manager, got the feedback, outreach, we're already at half a month. Then you can see in the pie diagram where we're actually going to find this talent. So 85% is all in the external. And this is exactly why these clients purchased Copilot, because we had TA leaders coming to us and saying, hey, listen, we're not even getting off the ground for the first half a month. And we're just keep going into the same channel over and over and over and expecting different results. So this was our baseline, and keep 13.5 in mind, if you don't mind, for the next slide, because on the next slide, we'll show you just what 1 month, 30 days of the same clients using Copilot has actually delivered. So Karen, if you don't mind, we've dropped our half a month down to roughly 2 days. because Copilot, and we're going to show you this, plot twist, slightly going rogue, going to call on Krista during a demo, so heads up on that one. We're going to show you how Copilot is actually automating and finding top talent and unlocking all these hiring channels to get your time to first contact down to 2 days, which first of all in itself, huge, right? But now look where people are actually finding the talent, right? We were at 85% in the external pool, down to 48. We're still using the external pool, not here to replace the external pool. We know that that's a strategy, it's there, but look at all the other talent that's out there. Like chances are, if you were to talk to like an IT ops or your HR ops team and like just ask, to what degree has our ATS grown by over the last 6 months? The percentages that we've been getting are anywhere between 20% to like 150%. And it's unprecedented the amount of inbound applications that people are getting and organizations are getting. Chances are someone that's sitting in your greenhouse, your lab, or your workday has already applied for a job, or you've already interacted with them, but we're just treating them as cold outreach, which is critical because on the next tab, next slide that we have here, we actually broke down each of the reply rates by hiring channel. So if someone is already in your ATS and we already know that they've applied for a job, we want to go ahead and reward them with that, make it more of a personal experience. You'll see that the external sourcing sections, we're looking at roughly between 15 and 17% reply rates, while the people that have already know your brand almost double. Right? So like these are the types of personalizations that we're looking for. These are how people are getting conversions. This is how people are getting higher quality candidates, and they're cutting that time to fill down significantly because we already have the data. We just need to unlock it. So this is exactly what Copilot's doing, and that we'll also walk through. But Karen, I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to share on here. It's definitely a really powerful story to see what people are doing once they overcome some of those myths.
Yeah, I think just to bring it back to the personal and personalization is that, so you can imagine that if you, it only takes you a matter of hours to actually create your list. And then just, you've got this automation to start the outreach to them. And then you can put that time that you were, because we all have a finite amount of time, right? So those 11 days that you're saving of time, you can now use that to personalize your outreach to the folks who you think really are the most, the top candidates for this position.
Mm-hmm. I think my last question is, how does it work? What is
Oh.
Copilot doing?
Let's see this in action. Let's put Krista on the hot seat. I'm gonna go on, let you all run
rogue
this.
here.
It's gonna be fun.
It will. All right. Karen, if you don't mind, I'll share my screen here. And let's click into Find Them. Krista,
Yes.
we haven't really prepped much for this, but we're just doing live demonstration and we're going to pick your brain a little bit. So
Amazing.
on the screen, we have Findem's demonstration account. It's connected to Greenhouse. These are fictitious profiles that we have in here. And we have a variety of roles across the top of the screen. So Krista, if you wouldn't mind just quickly sharing, what would maybe be your like step one when it comes to workflow? Like someone's giving you a role, now what?
Yeah, so typically I would meet with the hiring manager, right? And get all of the intangibles and really kind of find out more than just what the job description says. But once I meet with the hiring manager, then it's like go time, right? So I want to get my job description and the role into my ATS. So I get it into Greenhouse. So that would be the first step.
Okay, step one, get a job description. Wonderful thing about Copilots, at least Findem's, is that all of the Greenhouse and Findem are synced. So we can see in real time any of those changes that you make with your hiring manager. So let's say the hiring manager says, absolutely not, this is not who we're looking for a VP of engineering, make some edits in Greenhouse. Those edits then sync over to Findem. Cool part is, and the benefit is that because we have Copilot, Copilot is already going out and trying to pre-verify and find candidates that align to this job description before we even hit start. So this is like your batter's box, right? We're about to go in the playoffs here for baseball. This is your batter's box. We have 8 different roles that are all spinning in the background, waiting for Chris to hit start. And then Findem is going to quickly find the talent. So if you're ready, we'll dive in and figure out who Copilot has found.
Let's do it.
Okay. I think maybe potentially out of all the channels that we were talking about, right? We were talking about inbound, ATS, some external, I think like alumni and boomerang were on some of that data slides. Where would probably be your highest probability channel that you'd want to go to first? So we got your job description. Who do we want to look for? Who do we want to find in which channels?
Well, I don't know if this exactly answers your question, but typically, let's say without Copilot or without Findem, what I would do is, get, let's say, a job posting out there. And then I would at least have to wait overnight to start getting applications in. And then in addition to that, and right, like now we're seeing 1,000 applications overnight. So like I would be very overwhelmed the next day and probably think, I don't even want to go through these because how am I going to find the 3 people out of this 1,000 that are actually going to be a fit for the role? So I'd probably just start sourcing, which of course then takes a lot of time. So that's kind of like what would happen next in my workflow. I don't know if I answered your question.
Strangely, yes, we're good. Karen,
In a roundabout way.
pushing the hot seat right now. She is absolutely on it right now. We tossed her in here and she's thriving.
I know, I love it.
Yeah. So what Copilot has automatically done while we've been talking here is it's gone through each of the hiring channels. The inbound applicants, people in Greenhouse, internal employees that are currently working for Findem, our CRM, employee connections, alumni, and then there's this like cold outreach section that we can go to. They don't even know who we are, right? But to Chris's point, we just posted this job last night. We have over 130 candidates that have applied, right? So who are they? So what we're doing here is within the inbound applicants tab, and you'll see all the additional tabs broken out up top, is we have our 135 people that applied overnight. And this is what we're typically seeing, at least in the Findem client book. Roughly 2 to 5% of the people that inbound applied are what we would consider quality, right? So we have this job match filter, and we're looking for people that are high priority candidates. But just because you're not a high priority candidate doesn't mean that you shouldn't receive an email from me. Like, I want you to know, I saw your profile, like I've looked at it. I'm just saying you're probably not a best fit for this VP of engineering role, but maybe there's something that we can move you to in the future. That's where this ATS tab comes in, right? So I would just like to bulk move them and send an email to them and saying like, thank you so much for taking the time to apply. Would love to follow up with you in the future. But I really want to focus on those 3 to 4 people that already came in that were quality talent, right? So like, just from Krista, from like a time saving perspective, I can't even imagine going through 135 after 24 hours, but let alone, what if we waited like a week? We're talking like thousands of candidates.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this is just right off the bat huge, just to be able to filter out like, okay, who immediately are just like not a fit at all, and get those out of this application pool. And then, like you said, it's a lot easier to identify just the cream of the crop there.
Yeah, I think probably then we've identified our inbound applicants. We keep talking about this word about automation, Copilot. Internally on Findem, we keep using the term transformation. We should probably maybe address what the Copilot tab is actually doing then, right? So because Krista has experience, you have a workflow that's been built out. You can obviously use this. This is how some of our veteran users are leveraging Copilot, is they're adopting and adapting what they've learned after years of experience into Findem. What Copilot is doing is going into each one of these channels, and it's identifying who is the highest quality candidate based on what was pulled in from the job description, which you can completely edit over here on the side. And then we'll update in real time and try to find new people. And it's looking for the highest probability of candidate that will convert. So how does Copilot doing that? It's going from warmest to coldest. So chances are, if Krista posts a job and I've inbound applied for that job and I'm a quality match, like you're already signaling that you want this job. If you already have someone that's applied to 4 jobs at your company in the past, like let's say Sarah's applied to 3 different roles in the past, chances are Sarah really wants to work for you, and Sarah's a high quality match for this role. So we're looking for people that are the highest quality and the most probable to actually convert. You would be amazed. We already have clients that have been making hires just off this first 50 list. Initially, our learning was to provide a first 250 because people are always like, give me more, give me more, give me more candidates. And they weren't even making it through the whole list. They were just making it to the first 100 before they were actually sending offers out. And it's because we're already unlocking each of those hiring channels. Copilot is just doing it for you rather than having you go through the inbound applicants tab manually, rediscovering and enriching in your greenhouse, looking internally for the person in the cubicle next to you that might be a good fit. Copilot's just giving you the first 50.
Can I ask some questions?
All right. Krista, how can I not reciprocate? I've just thrown you into the hot seat. Absolutely, you can ask some questions.
I have so many questions. This is amazing. Okay, so first of all, what does the verified mean, the purple verified?
Absolutely. So this is unique to Findem. I don't believe I've seen another vendor doing this yet. And that is Findem with the verified stamp is saying that we are guaranteeing that this contact information is the most up to date. You will not receive a bounce back, and all the work experience is also up to date. So we are actually putting our stamp of trust on any profile that says verified.
Well, this is huge because even if Sarah applied, 2 or 3 years ago, chances are she's probably going to have a new job or have left that job and moved on. I know, in the past, all the ATS data just goes stale so quickly, right? Because it's like they're just fields that are just like static. So love that. And then the contact information is always a pain, a pain point. There have been, tools that I've used in the past where it's like half of the email addresses that I'm getting are incorrect, or I get bounce backs, or there just is no email address or phone number. So love that you're getting, just really, really up-to-date data on that. So amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. According to our demo environment, Sarah applied for a job 90 days ago. Wasn't a good fit. Might be a better fit for this role right here. But that's also the importance. There's two really important distinctions, and that is what Copilot's doing with the ATS connection, right? So because we already know who Krista was looking for, we're already going out looking for the most up-to-date contact information. We're just waiting for you to hit start, right? So we already knew that you were looking for people like Sarah. So we just want to go ahead and make sure that they're updated. The second is what Karen mentioned before, and this is candidly one of the most difficult messages to get across, not even just for Findem, if we want to take our Findem hat off for a second, but just data providers in general. And that is that not all AI is created equal. It does really matter what data is feeding it, what data is feeding the model, how they're training the model, how it's going in here. Findem started what we consider our proprietary data lake over 5 years ago, and we've been refining it ever since, right? They're our own proprietary deep learning models. If anyone has any questions on that, more than happy to take that on a separate conversation. But that is exactly how we're able to start increasing the quality of these searches, right? Because not only do we know the historical know-hows of Sarah, we also have a LinkedIn up top. Looks like we got a ResearchGate, we got a GitHub, we're going out on the internet, we're triangulating who these people are. On the left-hand side, this is stuff that, Chris, I'm sure you've seen on LinkedIn, right? Like work experience. Down below here, we'll also get, wow, a lot of work experience. They're just crushing it. Educations, skills, publications that we found about them, and then any patents, right? So this would be super helpful. You'll also get connections of who knows this person. So whether we want to increase that response rate, hey, Sarah, you know Nate, I know Nate, let's talk. Or you want to do some back channeling, Nate, Amy, is Sarah okay? Like, about to make an offer out. Is this someone that we should trust? But what you'll find on the right-hand side are all proprietary to Findem. So insights at a glance, we're using our own AI to read between the lines of the job description. It looks like Sarah, for an example, has been at the company for 2 years. Maybe that's helpful. Maybe it's not helpful. Maybe if I see someone that's been at the company for only a year, I don't want them. Like the chances of them going to move after 12 months might be pretty low, but they do have startup experience. So that's nice. Looks like they've applied in the past. I know exactly why they're a fit or not a fit for specific areas. And we have a direct integration with ChatGPT. So for an example, if you would like to, how does this candidate match my search is a really popular one, but I can also ask things like, tell me more about like Salesforce, right? Like I have no clue who Salesforce is. It looks like currently working at Salesforce. You can ask any general language prompts in here and it will feed back so you can actually communicate with AI. And then all of this is being fed through our own database, right? So I show it, Chris, it's always tough because I show this area not to show data itself, but hopefully it provokes people looking at these searches to be like, what type of searches could I actually do to increase quality? For an example, if I wanted to find someone that's like good people in bad places, Karen, what the heck does that mean really? I have no clue what that really means. What I can quantify that to mean though, is that in the past, this candidate worked at a scaling organization and currently they're at a shrinking company and they've been there for over 2 years, right? Like that would be not Sarah. Sarah has been crushing it at Salesforce, right? Employee count and revenue. You'll be able to then have these custom queries so that when you go to your hiring manager, it's like, I have a specific strategy for good people in bad places. I have a specific strategy for people that are already in greenhouse. I already have 135 candidates that have inbound applied. Between these 3 strategies, I should be much further along. And if they don't work, I have an entire pool of 2,000 candidates who we haven't even talked to.
Wow. Okay, so more questions. Can you scroll back up on the right side?
Oh, yeah.
The like proprietary part that you talked about in so the insights at a glance. So does that directly tie to the far left column where you're building your search? Like, for example, if like there's like must-haves versus nice-to-haves always in a role. So like, let's say a must-have is that the candidate has scaled the company from like Series A to Series C or something like that. And you like, that has to be present in the candidate. Do those two tie together or how do those insights come about?
Great question. One that typically people don't ask until like 4 months into using Findem. Very insightful. So we threw out some other keywords in there. So you're referring to some must-haves, nice-to-haves. Nice to have, put people towards the top that have these. Must-have, don't show me anyone that doesn't have exactly what I'm looking for in here. You're also referring to some custom, what we consider Findem magics. So for an example, if I want like org structures, so reporting levels, don't show me a title, just only give me heads of marketing that have been 2 reporting levels from a CEO, for an example. To answer your question directly, no, the 2 are not one and the same, and there's a reason for that. Because on the left-hand side, we learned that this is who the user is looking for, and we're sprinkling in additional AI context. So these insights at a glance won't be restricted to what you put on the left-hand side. And if there are specific things that you would like to look for, you can actually put custom insights at a glance on here too. So for an example, we do have a client that uses scorecards. And if they come from a certain university, they want to bump up the scores. So they've specifically put custom insights at a glance for anyone that's been at this list. And then regardless on what we put on the side here, on the left-hand side, the insights at a glance will instantly tell you like high on the score list, low on the score list, yes, no.
Super interesting. Okay. Next question is if you click out of that and go back to like the main page. Yes. Okay. So there's the ATS tab and then there's also a CRM tab. So why would you have both of those? Are you looking for people that like your company has sold into or what's the situation there?
Oh, good. You could tell. You could tell. You've been in the space. These are great questions. ATS tab is strictly for greenhouse. So it really depends on your strategy, right? So in greenhouse, we have 48 candidates that would be a good fit for this role. They've already applied to something in the past. Here's our friend Sarah again, right? So we've seen them in here. Not only is Findem showing you the candidates in your greenhouse, but we're also updating and enriching. So even if Sarah applied, 6 months ago, we're going to update Sarah's profile. We're going to enrich beyond like a LinkedIn and a resume so you can find there. What CRM is doing is this is an entire repository of people that maybe were like, follow up with me in 6 months, or I have targeted lists going to, right? So we have Findem has its own CRM software, and the search itself is saying, hey, there's 33 people from like your talent communities, your folders, your outreaches that would also be a good fit that are outside of a greenhouse.
Okay, great. And then in the past, I've had to use usually whatever, let's say like sourcing tool I'm using, but then I also have LinkedIn Recruiter or LinkedIn Recruiter Lite as like kind of my backup
Mhm,
because that one tool was not sufficient, right? So I
mhm.
would then be paying for two tools. Would I be able to just use Find Them, or do your customers also use like a LinkedIn Recruiter or Lite as their backup or an additional source?
Yeah, I feel like that's probably one of the most common questions we're getting recently. Um, and it's also because there's been a lot of pressure, right? Budgets aren't necessarily always going up. This particular tool we're talking about with LinkedIn seems like prices are going up. And what we found is we've been analyzing some of our client data, and we've been finding that roughly about 90% of your HR tech spend is dedicated towards your LinkedIn budget. But then when you really look at the data and attribution, it was roughly about 15 to 20% of the hires are actually coming from LinkedIn. So if anything, before we answer the question, please, everyone, if you take your hire by source, take a look at what your spend is versus the cost per hire, and then where those hires are coming from. It's definitely been beneficial. What we'll typically see as people get started is you might renew with LinkedIn and just cut down your spend, cut it down by 50%, start with Find Them. And I say that as a best practice for change management and adoption. We've all been using LinkedIn for 10, 12 plus years. I'm not going to come in here and say like, oh, just like completely ditch it, right? Like start with a team, maybe like 5 to 10 people, get them into Find Them, and then we'll start slowly transitioning is what we've seen. But Krista, to answer your question directly, we
Mhm.
have had clients do both. Recently, a client just signed up 2 weeks ago where they just completely canceled LinkedIn. But I'd say most of them will start with like a half and half for
Mhm.
like the first 12 months and then slowly roll to the rest of the team.
Okay. So I've always worked in smaller companies. My last company was a pretty small startup, so we didn't have a whole lot of like historical data in our ATS quite yet. So I was using LinkedIn quite a
Mhm.
bit. So how does Findem either like integrate with LinkedIn? Obviously, you have the external sourcing tab, but like talk me through that workflow a little bit more, and how those external sourcing candidates even get there. Am I
Right.
and putting them
Right.
in? Like,
Yeah.
what's how does that
Yeah.
all work?
How did Jacob even get in here? Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So if you do, so there's a few areas that you can go. The two most common ways are because LinkedIn is typically connected to like a Greenhouse, a Workday, a Lever, or Smart Recruiters. We're already connected to your ATS, so we can see when you've reached out. In addition, if you would just like to be set, you can do like an export.csv file from LinkedIn. You can import to Find Them. We will know that you reached out. By default, you'll already be able to see any of the interactions across your organization with Find Them. So if someone else has already reached out to Jacob, you'll see all those interactions and emails anyway.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, great.
Mhm.
What else am I not asking about? I was like, whenever I'm demoing a product, I always like to ask that because I don't think of everything.
Yeah.
So what am I not asking about that is important to know?
Um, I will say there's two areas, and then Karen, if you have any thoughts, let me know as we wrap up here. The first is just everything that's included. It's 2024 now. You don't always need to pay for additional add-ons. So for an example, if I would just like to have like total addressable market views, like there's 2,000 people externally, but I'm walking into a hiring manager meeting. Where
Mhm,
are they? Right? Like this is something that you might need to typically have paid additional money for, but you don't need to anymore. Like there's
mhm,
plenty of vendors out there that will provide talent mapping now, complimentary, as Findem's one of them. You'll also be able to have any analytic views, statistics. I'd say companies are a big one. So if you need to do company research, so for an example, we already know that there's 56 candidates at Salesforce. Maybe we don't want any like the Mag 7 or any of these larger companies in here. I would like to omit them. I can get their org charts, some information like finances, or just general research about them. But the
mhm,
wonderful thing about all of these tabs is they all come in a PDF report. So it's a 20-page PDF report. People will send this to the hiring manager or calibrate in real time with them. It comes complimentary as part of the subscription. So then you can go ahead real quickly and either send this off or walk through it and just set expectations. This is exactly who we're looking for based on the job description. This is where they are in the US. And as you scroll down, there's just so much rich data in here that you can start saying, for an example, if I'd like to go ahead and apologies on the eyes. We'll look at job title. Like if we didn't have a title in here, we could do some research. We could see who has this talent, so who should we be targeting? What are the top skills of this group, right? What schools are actually harvesting and farming these particular individuals? It's actually interesting because if you remember who the top company was, it was Salesforce. And you'll notice that most of these candidates are coming from the University of California, Berkeley. Look which company is recruiting from them the most, right? So it's a much more strategic lens, and it's all included with a subscription rather than paying for multiple different subscriptions to get data.
Love that. Perfect. Thank you.
This has been super fun to see, and I just wanted to make sure we answered a couple clarifying questions that came up. So I think we talked a bit about the LinkedIn recruiter and whether or not it works there, but I did want to address the smaller company question. And I would say that, you know, the Findem's real differentiator is that 3D data, and that the basis for the work that we're doing at the moment, what works best with the companies that we've found the most success with are these larger companies that have an ATS and have a certain number of projects that they're working on per year. But don't worry, Findem is coming for all. So we announced yesterday a new partnership with Paychex. And so Paychex customers now have access to the Paychex recruiting Copilot, which is built in partnership with Findem. And it has like a little bit more of a tailored approach to, you know, smaller, more localized searches. So it's a better solution for that. And then I would also just say that we also have been working with a number of folks around the executive search space, because we know that's also a bit different. And sometimes those can be smaller organizations, but they have some particular needs around executive search. So we are also working in that area. So if you do want to put into any comments or questions and you're interested in a demo, it's always helpful for us to get you routed to the right place if we know a little bit about the size of the company and who your ATS is. And then also, if you're interested in executive search, that's really helpful info as well. And I do have one last thing. I just wanted to note that the stats that Matt showed, so those are part of our new package that's built into the Findem product. So it's kind of nice because you can actually see what's happening. Like it's a consolidated, it's pulling all the data from all your channels and it's giving you a single number, right? What's the contact, time to contact? Imagine getting that number today. If you have those multiple channels, you'd have to like figure out across all of them, pull all that data, you know, you just wouldn't do it. It's real time and it's available. So I think that's a real game changer as well.
It is, yeah. Data is, I mean, it has been important for the last few years, but it's just becoming more and more important. And companies that are lean, it's harder and harder to get it and to get good data. So yeah, this sounds amazing.
Yeah, Krista, thank you.
Yeah.
Threw you in the hot seat, did wonderful. I think there's probably going to be a future event where you throw Karen and I on the hot seat. I hope we perform equally as well.
We'll have to do it.
Yeah, just we'd encourage all of you to come to our website and request a demo. I think we're going to pop up a poll here so you can tell us right now if you'd be interested in that. And then here are a couple QR codes. You know, we'd love for you to follow us on LinkedIn. That's how you can stay up to date on announcements like the Paychex announcement that we just had. Also, a lot of this content comes from our website, blogs, as well as our ebook that we put together on AI and recruiting. So just wanted to share these with you. Thank you, Krista.
Yeah, well, thank you. Another huge thank you to Karen and Matt for showing us the product and going over those myths today. I know I learned a ton, and I hope everyone here can see why I think this is one of the best recruiting tools on the market after today. I can't wait for my next recruiting gig because I definitely need to be using Findem. But we wanted to, again, thank Findem for this. This has been an amazing time. Feel free to connect with Matt and Karen. And yeah, just a couple of quick things that Talent Collective actually has coming up soon. Tomorrow, we have a great fireside chat about supporting working parents. So hopefully people can come to that. We have 3 really amazing panelists. Some other topics that we have coming up are on like immigration and visas. Tons going on with AI. So would love to see everybody at our next event. And I hope everyone has a really good rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, Krista. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.